Opening a new year with a big win at the Bernabéu and a hat trick from a homegrown player, the start of 2026 couldn't have been better for Real Madrid. Great tactical performance from Xabi Alonso and the whole team. However, there was still an individual mistake because, well, we are Real Madrid. Real Betis was not a big opponent, but still, credit where it's due, the team did a lot of things right. Besides, there were some things the team still could improve.
From the heart of Madrid, where passion meets purpose.
It was a legacy built by legends and a future written by rising stars.
Xabi Alonso started the game with a 4-4-2 formation, with the double pivot, his specialty. However, he could switch this to a 4-2-3-1 with a number 10 right behind the CF. But since Mbappe was not available and Garcia was there instead, a number 10 was not necessary. Why bother, right? In defensive phase, the formation switched sometimes. When the ball was in Real Betis' half, the two forwards, Vinicius and Garcia, pressed the opponent's defenders. Valverde and Carreras handled the flanks. Bellingham, Rodrigo, and Camavinga worked the midfield, while Tchouaméni dropped back to sweep behind with Asensio and Rudiger. And yes, the formation looked like a 3-5-2, the one that dominates the midfield and suffocates the opponent. Camavinga and Tchouaméni were the core of this machine. They decided whether to press like rabid dogs or drop into a cool defensive block. When they dropped, we were back to the good old 4-4-2. Everyone in place and the two forwards licking their lips waiting to counter. During build-up, the two fullbacks practically set up camp in the opponent's half, as if they were playing wingers in a video game. Meanwhile, our precious double pivot formed triangles and squares with the center backs to pull off Alonso's ideal pressing resistance plays. From short, crisp passes to long diagonals from Rudiger, Asensio, and yes, even Courtois, the range was impressive. At times, it looked like a 2-2-4-2 or a 3-3-3-1, because why stick to one formation when you can flex 5? The idea, dominate the midfield, press high, and keep the heat on. In attack, Alonso went full chaos mode, 3-4-3, a super attacking shape. Tchouaméni stayed back to clean the mess, Camavinga joined Bellingham and the two fullbacks to overwhelm Zone 14. Vinicius, as usual, tormented the left wing with 50-50 dribbles. Rodrigo tucked in, made space for Valverde to go full gazelle mode down the right. And finally, our boy Garcia, always lurking in the box, ready for post play or the kill. And he killed with a hat trick. Alonso's substitutions were the highlines in this match as well. When Real Madrid's defensive line started to clump, he brought out his two attackers to bring in other two attackers. At first glance, it didn't make any sense. The back line was shaky, and here comes Alonso swapping offense for offense. Huh? Genius or madness? Enter Mastantuono and Güler, the youngsters with fresh legs and bold intentions. What they brought was not just energy, but a whole new wave of attacking that pushed Real Betis back into their own half like they were under siege. Their defenders were so occupied, Betis couldn't spare the bodies to launch meaningful attacks. Suddenly, the defensive line wasn't shaky anymore because there was nothing to defend. And then came the chef's kiss. Alonso, seeing that Betis had been reduced to defending with prayer and hope, pulled off the controller of the midfield, Tchouaméni, and subbed in Ceballos. Translation, you are free to go wild. The result, 2 more goals, all to the name Garcia, but this time not Gonzalo. Different players, same chaos. Tactical brilliance wrapped in the disguise of confusion. You love to see it.
Now that we've untangled Alonso's tactical spaghetti, let's zoom in on the meatballs who made this feast unforgettable. But only for those who actually showed up. If a name's not here, take the hint. Either I blinked and missed them, or they played like NPCs in this game. Gonzalo Garcia, Gracias Gols. What a night. 3 shots, 3 goals. A perfect hat trick. Header, right foot volley, left foot heel. We're talking about FIFA street skills here. Man of the match, obviously. He tried post play, some of which were decent, some not so much. But make no mistake, a target man like Garcia fits perfectly in Alonso's plan B. Big, technical, and deadly. Tchouaméni and Camavinga,
Here they are, the perfect double pivot for this match. Physically strong, tactically sharp, and so calm under pressure you'd think they were sipping espresso while playing. Tchouaméni took control of the midfield like he had bought a plot of land in Zone 14. He set the tempo, played quarterback from the back, and made sure Real Madrid didn't miss a beat. He was basically the playlist DJ of the team. No skips allowed. Camavinga? He had clearly installed turbo legs. He zoomed through Betis' attempts at pressing like he was late for dinner. Every time there was a hole, surprise, he was already there, covering it like a one-man emergency patch kit. He didn't just carry the ball, he carried the burden of making midfield fun to watch again. And yes, cards on the table, I still lean toward the Tchouaméni-Valverde combo in my dream pivot pairing. But against a team like Betis, who couldn't dominate a game even with a cheat code, Camavinga's all-gas, no-break style was the better weapon. As for Valverde playing at fullback, an idea that has been proven since Ancelotti's time. Together, they didn't just lock down the midfield, they padlocked it, threw away the key, and installed a security system. Betis' midfield had less room than a budget airline seat, and our attackers, they just sat back and watched the show with popcorn.
Rodrigo. Compared to Vinny, Rodrigo was the quiet assassin. No flashy dribbles, but 2 assists and a ton of fouls drawn. Ran mostly on the right, but popped up on the left for some spicy key passes. He doesn't always get his shots off, but that's the price of being the team player. Valverde. Betis weren't the toughest test, but Fede still had fun. 3 key passes, 2 assists, and those iconic motorized overlaps down the right. He's the guy who says, sure, I'll play there, and then plays like he's been there forever. Asensio. Yeah, we remember the mistake that led to the goal, amateur hour stuff. But let's be fair, he also scored a goal and helped hold down the fort. Together with Rudiger and the pivot duo, he built from the back, cleaned up loose balls, and made space for Valverde's forward runs. Still, he needs to cut out these brain fade moments. Courtois. I'm tired of praising him, so I'll skip it today. Just assume he was flawless, as usual.
Xabi Alonso had a lot to smile about. Tactical switches worked. The kids stepped up. Garcia exploded. Oh, and he had to defend Vinny Jr. too, because apparently some fans still don't get it. Tactical shifts, spot on. Youth development, thriving. Style, sharp. He's not just managing a squad, he's conducting a legacy. This match was the love letter to Alonso's philosophy. Dominate midfield, press like wolves, and attack with flair. The squad nailed it. There were a few hiccups, but overall, it was a brilliant showing. Real Madrid opened 2026 not just with fireworks, but with Gonzalo Garcia setting the Bernabéu on fire. Gracias Gols, indeed. Now let's just hope he doesn't get sold next week for project reasons. And if you enjoyed watching Real Madrid cook and me breaking it all down with a sprinkle of sarcasm and a whole lot of white passion, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because this season, we're just getting started. Hasta la próxima. A la Madrid y nada más.